Thank you so much, Ian, for taking the time out of your day to meet up with me. This is a very exciting time to meet up with you in person, so thank you. It's a beautiful day here in New York City. I am meeting up with the founder and CEO of Bright Minds, Ian McDonald. How are you doing today, man?
I'm good. Thanks for joining us at Bright Minds headquarters here.
Well, yeah. It's a pleasure to meet you. So let's kind of just jump into everything. I want to say congratulations on your listing on the NASDAQ. We all heard in the community that on Monday, your company Bright Minds is going from OTC BMBIF to NASDAQ listing as drug. How do you feel about that, man?
I feel great. It's amazing. It's been a lot of hard work getting to this point, but this NASDAQ listing is going to open us up to so many more investors, not only retail investors, but also your larger institutional investors that focus day in and day out on investing in healthcare stocks and therapeutic stocks. So it's really something I think is going to be transformational in terms of us being able to get to the people that want to invest in Bright Minds and be a part of the story going forward.
I'm sure that's very exciting for you. A significant amount of our community has invested in your organization back initially when it listed on the OTC markets as BMBIF, and we've really speculated over the past couple of months of your organization's success. So we just want to say thank you for the dedication you've had, not only towards the organization that you're working for, but also the profits that you've been able to generate us, man. Since the OTC listing, we've seen upwards of 80 to 100% gains. People in our community have generated hundreds of thousands of unrealized dollars because we are all still holding in anticipation for that NASDAQ listing. We are all very excited. So for the individuals who haven't heard about Bright Minds, can you give me a quick rundown on the company and what makes you different than other biotech organizations out there?
Yeah, so we're focused on psychedelic medicine, and your investors, the people in your community are probably familiar with a few of those companies. MindMed, Compass, those are two. There's other ones, Atai, GHRS. And I think what really separates us from the other companies is we're focused on not taking these natural products like psilocybin or DMT forward, but we're actually working to create better versions of those drugs that have a better safety profile, are more efficient. They're going to have a shorter duration of action, so will be much more efficiently used and in turn cheaper in clinical practice. So you can sort of think of it as the first generation of the iPhone with our competitors, and what we're developing are more nuanced products that are tailor-made for treating these disorders.
I absolutely love that, because I've been invested in this company for a while. I know how everything works, but for those retail investors who have not heard about Bright Minds, that is an amazing little quick rundown on company.
There's I should mention this. There's another major differentiation between not only creating better versions of those drugs, but once you do that, once you do the work to actually go there and engineer new molecules that have what we hope to be superior profile, you are then able to patent that molecule. So if a drug occurs in nature, you can't patent that molecule. If it's 30 years old, you can't patent that molecule. But what we're doing is, again, creating a completely novel molecule that we will then be able to patent and have patented in some instances. And that gives us the ability to generate much higher revenue per patient and per drug than would otherwise be the case, and is the case with many of our competitors.
That's amazing. So you guys have a killer team over there at Bright Minds. You have Alan Kozłowski, who is your Chief Scientific Officer.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about him as well as the rest of your team?
So Alan is a very, very smart guy. He studied at Berkeley. He got had a number of years studying in Harvard under a Nobel Prize winner there. And his entire career has been focused on brain drugs and psychoactive drugs of that. So he worked for a long time on analogs of cocaine to help treat addiction there. You can look up the compound nocaine. There's a Wikipedia article about it that was created to help people with cocaine addiction get off their addiction. He's worked on cancer drugs. He has several in clinic right now. I think that company is probably worth $1 billion. And again, that company is based off of all of his science. And for a number of years, he's been focused on brain health disorders, and has had a number of successful research projects with that. But specifically with the types of problems that we're looking to solve at Bright Minds, he was, I would say, one of the top guys in the world. I would put him as top 2 or top 3. And him, in conjunction with the other members of our team who are really, I would say, the top guys in the space, the ones who know how to go in there and put an atom on here, take an atom off there to make the molecule to what we want, are really the core of what makes Bright Minds special.
Wow. Oh my God. You guys are literally geniuses. You know.
I'm not. Let's make this perfectly clear. I am not. I'm just the finance guy. Those guys are incredibly smart. It's amazing. You sit there on these calls with them, and half of it's going over your head at the beginning, at least. Now I think I understand probably 90% of it, but it's pretty special.
So hats off to you for being able to curate such a phenomenal team of geniuses. Right?
Thank you. Yeah. So,
you guys at Bright Minds are utilizing psilocybin to treat things like depression, epilepsy, and substance abuse. What are some recent discoveries and developments that have interested you?
In the space in general, you're seeing a lot of positive data come out. And Compass is about to come up with their phase 2B data, which hopefully will show that these drugs are very effective in treating depression. And these aren't your mild to moderately depressed people. These are people with very serious clinical depression, the types of people that don't get out of bed, that are suicidal. And those are the drugs that psychedelics really work on. And we're just trying to make safer, more effective versions of those.
That's actually really interesting. And what are some things that you're working on that you're excited for in the future?
So we have a whole portfolio of drugs. We have very interesting psychedelic drugs that have application for depression, but we're also looking at other ways to use those drugs. So these drugs have potential for neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, for example. Mm-hmm. So it's been shown that in several psychedelics, DMT, for example, psilocybin, and you can increase the neurons in your brain. So actually stimulate growth, which is something that you're deficient in if you have Alzheimer's disease or Parkinson's to a lesser degree. So we are looking at potential to treat those types of disorders in addition to your more typical neuropsychiatric disorders like depression or like PTSD. So there's a lot of applications that our drugs could work for, and I would say that depression is certainly a huge one, but it's certainly not the only thing. And yeah, that's what I'm really excited about, is creating, elucidating the true potential of all of our compounds.
Mm-hmm. And are you right now only working with the psilocybin molecule, or are you trying to expand into different things like fentanyl?
No, definitely not dealing with any opioids or fentanyl. None of our compounds are going to be addictive or have addictive properties. We're working within psychedelics, so creating, again, better versions of psilocybin. We're creating better versions of LSD. We're creating better versions of DMT. We're working with a number of different chemical structures there to tease out the effects that we want and get rid of the negative attributes of those molecules.
I absolutely love that. So before we move on to a couple questions from the community, is there anything else that you would like to say about Bright Minds, your operations, or anything that you think that these investors and retail traders would love to hear from you, the CEO?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the NASDAQ uplisting is great, but it's really only the beginning of our story. And I think we're entering a really pivotal time in the company's life cycle where we're heading into clinic and taking these drugs forward and proving that they work in actual patients. So typically what you see in biotech companies like ours, you'll start at preclinical where you're altering the molecule and testing it in animals. And once you prove it's safe and effective there, then you go into humans. And the further and further you get preclinical, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, the value of the company follows that same arc. So I think we've established an incredible base over the last couple of years, and we're now really starting to see the fruits of that labor in terms of the valuation for the company and the investor interest.
Love it. So do you think that there's going to be any short-term news with any trials that are going to happen here in next 3 to 6 months?
Yeah, so we're moving into clinical trials next year for our 5-HT2C drug, which is to treat Dravet syndrome, which is a rare childhood form of epilepsy. So lots of milestones that we're going to be targeting over the next, not only the next 6 months, but over the next year. And again, those should be a good catalyst for the stock. Typically, once you hit those milestones, you have an increase in investor interest, and the programs become more tangible because you're that much closer to approval and you de-risked it. Yeah.
Love it. Anything else that you want to bring up before we get into a couple of the community questions?
Oh, let's get right into it.
Cool. So this is from a guy out in Colorado. I know that there's going to be a bunch of legalization hurdles. What are you foreseeing in the near future?
So here's the interesting thing about taking a drug through the FDA pathway and to be a prescription drug. The DEA and scheduling of a drug, an illegal drug like take psilocybin, for example, is completely divorced from the FDA pathway. So that drug psilocybin could still be illegal federally, but if you get it approved through the FDA pathway, you go through phase 1 trials, phase 2 trials, phase 3 trials, and you prove that drug, psilocybin, for example, is safe and effective. That drug is able to be prescribed by a doctor. So its legal status doesn't have any bearing on it being able to be marketed and sold by a pharmaceutical company. And I would say that the drugs that we're making, it's not psilocybin. We're actually altering the chemical structure and creating something new. So our drugs won't have the baggage that's associated with the drugs that you guys have probably heard of, like LSD or MDMA or psilocybin. Yeah.
Well, if you're not able to get through these clinical trials, what is the plan after that?
If we're not able to get through the clinical trials, we have a number of shots on goal. So we don't just have one molecule. It's not a binary event. While that particular drug may be a binary event, let's say if we don't get through phase 2, the drug fails for a toxicity reason, or if it fails for it just isn't effective, then that drug could potentially be repurposed. But typically what you see is that drug is more or less dead. and we have a whole portfolio. So it's not just one chance here. We have a bunch of different drugs in our pipeline at various stages that we'll be bringing forward. And it's, by the way, there's certainly no guarantee that all of our drugs will make it. There's no guarantee that that any of our drugs will make it. But what we've done is de-risk. The program to the best of our ability, and based upon the evidence of other drugs like psilocybin, we believe that we've got a very good likelihood of success with all of our programs.
Love it. So how is your chronic pain study going? We have a veteran in the community who is deeply invested right now in Bright Minds, and he is very interested in hearing about those results.
Yeah, so we are working with the National Institutes of Health, which is a U.S. government organization, to evaluate our drugs in various pain models. These would be, for instance, pain associated with cancer, pain associated with cluster headache, for example, fibromyalgia. We're evaluating a number of preclinical models and letting the data speak to us as to where we should be pursuing in terms of a clinical plan. So that test work is ongoing. We have a number of drugs in our pipeline and limited bandwidth. So it's certainly on our list. We're certainly doing it, but I'd say stay tuned on that for more details. But we're pretty happy with what we've seen so far. But yeah, stay tuned. We'll get more news.
Love it. Is there any particular state in the U.S. that you are planning to market to specifically?
No, I mean, the beauty of it is if you get FDA approval, you're able to sell your product through prescription through your doctor anywhere in the nation.
Love it. And
I'm maybe not Guam. I don't know.
Cool. And then this is kind of a little bit harder of a hidden question, but a lot of retail traders have the opportunity to invest in a bunch of different companies right now. They can go invest in things like marijuana and weed companies, and I'm sure you've seen them too in the past couple months, past couple years. Those stocks have typically tended to trend down until there is news in regards to the company or marijuana in general. How do you feel that Bright Minds will perform differently compared to organizations like that?
I mean, if the sector is going down, Bright Minds we're a sector participant. So if I'm completely honest, we're probably going to go down too. But what we're entering in at Bright Minds specifically, but also as in the psychedelics industry and the CNS field more broadly, we're entering a period of a lot of data coming up. We're able to see, do these drugs really work like we think they do? And if that data comes out negative, then the space is going to sell off. If that data comes out positive, it's going to rally quite strongly. And we believe that this new paradigm of treating mental health with psychedelic drugs is real. And if that gets borne out by evidence in the next few months, you should see a pretty strong appreciation for the sector as a whole.
Absolutely love it. So I know this might be a little biased because you are the CEO of the company, but do you think that there is a solid price target that you'd like to see for the stock here within the next 2 to 3 years?
I mean, it's tough for me to say that. I'm sure the SEC would kill me if I put a price target on it. But we believe our stock is materially undervalued relative to peers. I think if you take a look at some of our comps, where they're trading at, what they have in their portfolio relative to ours, I think that a significant re-rating should be in order there. And with the NASDAQ uplist, we have the opportunity to have a lot more investors that otherwise wouldn't have been able to participate in us. And typically what we've seen with our peers who have uplisted and are on a major US exchange is that helps them realize that price differential. So hopefully that's the case with us. We're certainly working very hard in the lab, and I'm doing my best to get the story out there. So we'll see.
Love it. I'm sorry for putting you on the spot with the PT question.
No problem.
And last thing, not really a question, but a comment that a lot of the individuals in the community have wanted me to make. There's been a lot of us that have been invested in Bright Minds since, $3-4 a share, and a lot of the community has benefited from you, your team, and your organization. Like I said earlier, the community has generated hundreds of thousands of dollars in both realized and unrealized gains in Bright Minds, and that the fact that you've really impacted the lives of tens of thousands of people. I've had people come out to me and be like, hey, because of Ian, I was able to pay off student debts. Because of Ian, I was able to pay off my car. Because of Ian, I was able to pay off my home. How do you feel about all of that?
It makes me very proud and happy. Dude, that's great. I mean, it's I'm all in on Bright Minds. I mean, nobody cares more like emotionally or financially than me. So I'm not taking a salary from the company. I've got to make this work. So I work day in and day out to try to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to not only have a successful stock, but have a successful company that creates new drugs and is able to impact these people's lives in a way that's oftentimes more impactful than monetarily. There's a lot of sick people out there we're hoping to treat, but yeah, it's a great feeling to hear that. So hopefully we will continue to make you guys happy. Know that I'm working my ass off to make that happen. So
yeah, I absolutely love that. And again, thank you for taking time out of your day to meet up with me. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the investors in the community while I have you here?
Just thanks for supporting us, and yeah, if you guys ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or Alan. And yeah, but thank you for your support, and hopefully we continue to make you guys happy as the year progresses and we move into 2022.
Very excited. But cool. All right, everybody. I just want to say thank you again, Ian, for your time.